Hi everyone, welcome to my channel JS2 Big Data. I am back again with another tutorial series on NumPy specifically for data scientists. So let's get started. NumPy basically stands for numeric pi or numeric Python. Anything you build today has to deal with numbers or data. Not just a data science project, but almost every applications that you build today has to do some sort of manipulations or data operations. So to do all these numerical or scientific calculations on your data, you can make use of numeric Python or NumPy. Let's say you want to understand the customer's behavior and you want to understand the average spending of customers in the age group of 20 to 30. So now you can understand that you need to perform a lot of data operations in order to get the average spending of, let's say, million users. Now to do this, you want a library which is fast enough and which is also having feature rich API so that you can perform any required mathematical operations on top of it. So that is when you make use of NumPy. Now NumPy is open source and free to use, which means you do not have to pay a single penny to anybody to use NumPy in your project. So why NumPy is so popular? Now before understanding NumPy, let's look at Python. Now whenever we talk about Python programming language, the very obvious thing that comes to developers' mind is that it's CPU and RAM heavy. But NumPy, in the other hand, is completely implemented in C. Its core APIs are written in C. So any API that you access, actually you are running the C code behind the scene. So this is the reason why NumPy is lightweight, which means it consumes less RAM and it is much faster than many of the default Python libraries. And at the same time, it provides you a lot of powerful and easy to use APIs. Be it your linear algebra or you want to do some sort of logarithmic operations, all this you can achieve very easily. Nevertheless, matrix operations is very common in data science. So that is very well supported in NumPy. So what makes NumPy very powerful is NumPy array. We will explore NumPy array in details little later. Now to use NumPy, if you are familiar with Python, you can install NumPy by directly doing pip install, or if you are using Conda, you can just do Conda install and you just have to import that, right? You can import it as NumPy or you can import it as NP. For this tutorial, I recommend you to set up Anaconda and Jupyter Notebook. And if you do not want to do this and you want to try out coding Python directly, in a Python file, and then you want to run it in an IDE of your choice, that's okay. You can proceed with that. But I recommend you to download Anaconda and set it up. So Anaconda comes with necessary packages that you need to work with data science. It also comes with NumPy package. Like I said, alternatively you can do your own Python plus Jupyter Notebook installations and then you manage all these dependencies by yourself. If you are working in Python world for some time, you can do that. But I strongly recommend you to download Anaconda and proceed with me. Apart from Anaconda, I also recommend you to check out an IDE called DataSpell. This is from JetBrains, and DataSpell is currently available in early preview mode. So without much ado, let's get started by downloading Anaconda and install it in our system. So obviously the very first thing that you need to do is you need to say Anaconda install, and it's going to take you to the individual edition. You are going to visit that page, and if you are on Mac like me, you can just click on the download. And if you are on any other platform, what you can do is you can download the installer for your platform. Let's say if you are on Windows, you can download the 64-bit for Windows. If you are on Linux, again you can download the 64-bit based on your type of Linux that you are using. Now once you click on this, you can see that it will download an installer. I already have this downloaded as package file, and all you have to do is you just double click, and then it will take you through the installation steps, and then you just do next, and you are done. Since I have already installed it, it's going to fail for me, and I'm just not going to try installing it again. But it's very straightforward. You just go next, and done. And similarly for Windows as well, right? If you download the exe or .msi file, all you have to do is just go next, and you're done installing it. Now what's next? I will press Ctrl space. If you are on Windows, you can press the Windows button, type Anaconda Navigator, okay, and you just launch that. Now you can see that it will take a while to launch because it needs to initialize your virtual environment, where it will install all the necessary packages, and then it will launch with it. Now you can take a moment to go through all of these. What I really like is RStudio. If you want to install it, you can install, or we'll do it when we get into learning R. Right now you can skip that. There is another one that is called Spider. It is also very well preferred by many professionals because it provides you a very nice data view. That's why it's preferred. Other one, PyCharm. A lot of people, they prefer it. But for now, we are just going to look at Jupyter Notebook. And Jupyter Lab is a bit advanced version of Jupyter Notebook. But yeah, we are just going to stick to Jupyter Notebook at this moment. And later on, as we proceed with the course, I will take you through some other tools if needed. So all you have to do is you just click on the launch button, and it will launch the Jupyter Notebook. Now just for your information, if you want to understand what are the different packages that are installed in my system, you can just keep scrolling and you can see the list of packages that are installed, right? And then you can also see that you have the NumPy version 1.20.1 which is already installed. So you go home and then launch Jupyter Notebook. You can see that it basically starts a session. I just want to take you back there. So you can see that it launches and it starts the session. Most interesting thing is you see it comes with a token, right? I will just copy this for now. Now when you launch Jupyter Notebook, it is going to open in the default browser. So it has opened the home directory basically here. But let's say I want to keep using my Chrome browser. So what I can do is I can just copy. Remember, you have to copy it with the token. Okay. So let's first try to log in without the token. So you can see that if I don't specify the token, it asks me to log in. So for that, let's just specify the URL with the token, right? This is the original URL that I copied, and then I just enter. So all I want to show you right now is how to create a notebook, or basically what is a notebook. So notebook is nothing but your interactive IPython page. Whatever you type in your IPython cell, similarly you would just type it here, and then it's an interactive cell. It will just show you the output. All my code is going to be in the GitHub. I will show you the repository where all the codes will be there, and then you have to just go to the master the data science and then NumPy. You will have all the codes here. Now just for you, let me just start with a page. So I will just save this one. I just name it as 00.demo Jupyter Notebook. So I have renamed it. Now you see by default there is a cell, and there are basically 4 types of cells: code, markdown, raw NB convert, and headings. Now I will explain you what each of these. So let's say in code block I will just type print hello there, okay, and I want to run this. So to run I will press Control Enter, or in Mac I will press Command Enter. So you can see that this is my output, which is called hello there. Now I want to have a markdown cell right above this one. So to insert a new cell above this, I will press A. and I want to convert this to a markdown cell basically. So for that I will press M, and to enter into the cell and start typing I can either click on it or I just press enter. Now I am inside this. Now I am inside the markdown syntax, so I'll just say demo Jupyter, okay, and I just execute this as command enter, right? Now let's say I want another cell which is just below this Jupyter notebook, and to do that I press B, and I want it as raw, so I press R, and whatever I type in, it doesn't matter in what format I type, even if I put double hash, so whatever I type it would be kept as it is, okay. So that's about the raw. And when you are stuck you can stop it, you can restart the kernel basically from here, and if you want to shut it down you can shut it down, and most importantly if you want to understand all the keyboard shortcuts you can click on that keyboard sign and then go through each of these. So this is basically brief about Anaconda and Jupyter Notebook, just to help you to set up your workspace so that you can code along with me. So far, we have tried to understand where to use NumPy, and I have given you an explanation on how you can set up Anaconda and Jupyter Notebook in your local machine. And I also explained you how you can create a simple notebook. From here you can create, and you can have different kind of blocks here. We call it as shell. So you can have code, markdown, raw, and we have not seen heading. Heading also is similar to markdown. And we have also discussed few basic keyboard shortcuts. Now without much ado, I will directly get into NumPy, and I'll give you a brief idea about its capability. So let's say you have a list which has the sides of different square. Now you can see that obviously this is of the type list, and if I want to calculate the area of square, then all I have to do is I'll have to use something like a list comprehension, right? And a into a for a in square sides, right? And if I just print square areas, this will give me the area. So you can say if the side is 4, area is 16, 5, 25. Similarly, if it is 99, 9801, that's my square area. Now obviously this is fine, but when you have lot of other complex operations that you want to do directly on list, it's not possible, right? I mean, let's say I want to achieve it something like this: square area is equal to square of side into the sides of my square. And then let's try to run this and see what happens. You can see that it clearly says a list cannot be multiplied with another list. Now what if I told you that this is very much possible in NumPy? Now I want to introduce you to the concept of NumPy, and let's see if this very operation can be achieved in NumPy and how simple it is to deal with, let's say, arrays. Now NumPy comes with the concept of array. So if we are using list or tuples, we need to first convert it to NumPy array. So to use NumPy, like I already told you before, we will import NumPy, and then I'll create my array called sides from NumPy as np.array, and I'll convert square sides, right? So sides of the square, and I want to basically calculate my area. So I'll say area array equal to sides array into sides array, okay, and then I'm just going to print area array. Now let's see. So you see, I did not have to use any comprehension or anything like that. I could directly use this multiplication operation on top of another array, so that it takes care of multiplying each element by another element, comparing its index, right? You have here 4, 5, 6, 7, 9 and 89, 99, and then same here. So 4 will be multiplied by 4, 5 will be multiplied by 5, and similarly 99 by 99. So, and this is the output that you get, right? And again, I will take you through each of these very clearly in the later part of this video. Try to get an overview of what NumPy can do for you. Now, let me also show you another example. Let's say I say array1 equal to numpy.array, and I create, let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then I create another array, array2 equal to np.array, and here let's say I create 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then I just want to add them up. Okay, I want to add array1 with array2. Is that possible? Yes, it's very much possible in NumPy, right? And let's, just for the sake of understanding what NumPy can do for us, let's say I have two arrays, heights in meter and then weights in kg, and you already know this syntax by now, np.array, and then if I just pass a list, it will just convert it to array, right? And now let me just do a basic calculation of BMI, right? So calculate BMI. And how to calculate BMI? So the formula is weight in kg divided by height in meter square. Okay. So let me first say let's say the BMI array is equal to weights in kg divided by heights in meter square, right? And this should give me my BMI array. Now let's see. Yes, it gives. So you can see that how easy it is, right? I didn't have to convert it to any list comprehension. I didn't have to copy it to another list and then perform my operations. I could directly perform all the arithmetic operations on the arrays, right? This is really fantastic, and this is really powerful, and it is very efficient. Let me tell you, I already talked about it. If you go to the NumPy official blog or the official site, it clearly tells you that you can read about how well it is optimized in C. All the code that actually does your operations behind the scene is written in C. Okay, now time for a short quiz. Let me give you a small problem, and then you would give me an answer to that. Let's say I have an array something like this. So let's say you have an array where I specify 2.5 false 0.02, 0.2333, and then I also say, let's say, name. Okay, and I print it. See what happens. What's the type of the content that's there? So you can see that this array is converted into a type something like string. Okay, it's of the type U32. We'll talk about this little later. But you see, everything is converted. Let's say, my quiz 1, and if you want to print it, you just print it. That'll give you a better clarity, right? You see, all the data is getting printed as string. Okay, now I will also give you another example. So let's say instead of name, I only keep 2.5 false 0.2 333 and true. Now, can you tell me the type of the content that NumPy will store? Array stores only homogeneous elements, right? All the elements in an array has to be of the same type. So you learned about it. So NumPy array also follows the same convention. Nothing wrong in that. But here you see in my list I can have of any type of data, right? I can have int, float, boolean, string, and over here I have not kept string but everything else. So now can you tell me what would be the type of data that would be stored in quiz 2? So it would be float. Okay, and why it becomes float? Because float can accommodate all these types, right? False I can save it as 0, true I can save it as 1, and if you want to convert this to, let's say, integer, all you have to do is you do this, it gets converted to integer. Now I want to give you another homework for you to do. Let me take this down. Now, is it possible to create an array from a tuple and a dictionary? So you are going to spend some time and figure this out. So I encourage you to find this out, whether you can create an array from the tuple and dictionary. Pause the video, try to do some research on this, and then comment the details in the video below. Okay, so I hope you have tried this by yourself. So it is very much possible to create an array from tuples and dictionaries, and we will look into these things more in details in the later videos. So thank you, and if you have not subscribed my channel so far, please do subscribe and give me a thumbs up. And in the later part we will explore more about this NumPy array in details. Okay, so by now you have understood that everything is in the NumPy array. That is what is the most capable and powerful one in this library. So we will explore that much more in details. Hi everybody, welcome back. I hope you are still with me. So in the previous video I just gave you a very high level introduction to NumPy. Now we will understand the NumPy array a little bit more in details. So now in this example I have two NumPy lists. One is called heights, another one is called weights. And what we will do is we will first check the type of player heights, and you can see that it's nothing but list. And similarly, if you check the type of player weights, obviously that also will be of the type list. Now I already explained you how to calculate the BMI of players using NumPy. So let's just do that once again as a revision, and then we will check some of the array related functions. So let's say player heights np is equal to np dot array, and I'm going to pass player heights of course, and similarly I will use player weights np, which is nothing but an NumPy array created from player weights. So you can see that I have two NumPy arrays, which we already visited in the previous section of the video, nothing new. So, and now I will create BMI NP just to show you that we are using NumPy, but in real world you would not be using dash NP as such. You would just name it as a standard variable. So you know the BMI formula, so it would be weight, player weight, and that's divided by players heights square, right? So I'll just put this inside common bracket. Square I can use double star 2 in Python, that's the standard Python syntax, and then I'll check the BMI NP. So you can see that it gives me the BMI of all the players. Now most importantly, I want to show you few details about this array. We have the BMI NP, that's nothing but our NumPy array, and it's of the type float, you can see here. but we will just take a look. You can use the type on BMI NP, and then it says that it is of the type numpy dot nd array. So nd array is nothing but n dimensional arrays. So I can have n number of rows and columns in numpy, and that's okay. And if you want to print, you can also use the print statement. Okay, and you can print, let's say, BMI NP, and you can see that it prints just like a list, right? I'll just comment this out at this moment. Now BMI NP is fine. So what if you have to access the first element of an array? So you would use BMI NP 0, right? Just like how you access your list or tuple, right? So this gives me the first element. And similarly, if you want to access the last element, what would you do? You would just pass -1. I'm sorry, so it's BMI NP -1. So now let's say you want to fetch the last 5 elements of your NumPy array. So it would be same as what you would do for list and tuples. So what you can do is, last 5 elements -5, and then you would just leave it as empty. So this will give you the last 5 elements of your NumPy array. Alright, I also want to show you something very quickly, and we are just going to use this more in future, in the later part of the video, but now let's just focus on this. So you see BMI NP, if I just print it, it just comes as a one dimensional array, right? So how you can check? You can just type ndim. This will give you the dimensions of this array. And let's say I want to change this, okay, to a two-dimensional array. Now before that, let me check how many elements are there. So it says there are 10 elements, and in one axis there is no 2D or 2 dimensions of this, right? So to convert these 10 elements to a 2D array, what I can do is I can use a function called reshape, and I will say divide it or convert it into 5x2 matrix. And this is what it is. Again, matrix in NumPy is nothing but a two-dimensional array. Okay, so I hope this is very clear to you. So you know how to convert a list into an array. Same syntax would be used to convert any tuples to NumPy array as well. And then we are just checking the type of it using the type syntax. It will give you numpy.nd array. Like I said, nd meaning n dimensional array. Okay, and then we checked how to fetch the first element of an array. We also checked how to fetch the last elements of an array, and then let's say you have to fetch last 5 elements of an array. What would be the syntax? Another thing which is bit important also, we seen how to convert this one dimensional array into two dimensional array, and we have also seen various other functions which I will cover in the later part of this tutorial. Now in this part of the tutorial, I will cover 4 important functions of NumPy array. So first one is shape, okay, then side, then dtype, and ndim. You have already seen ndim in the previous part of the tutorial, but I will explain that in details here. So like the description says, shape is used to check the number of dimensions of an array, and it is also called as axis. Okay, let me correct this. And size is used to check the total number of elements that are present in the array. We have seen that previously it was 10. Then we will use dtype to check the data type of an array, and like I already told you, array is a collection of homogeneous elements, so all the elements will have same data type, and you have already seen this in the very first part of the video. And then ndim, which will return the number of dimensions of an array. Okay, so you can see 1D array would look like this, a 2D array would look like this, and I can also have 4x3x2, which is nothing but a 3D array, so which would look something like this. So like this I can have n number of dimensions, n number of axes. That's why you have seen NumPy dot nd array, right, which is nothing but n dimensional arrays. So let's begin and let's explore this little bit more in details and understand what and how numpy array behaves. So obviously to do anything you would import numpy as numpy, and then let's say I create a numpy array which is nothing but np array equal to np array, and then I'm just giving 1 2 3 4, right? So which is nothing but 4 by 3 matrix, right? So I have 4 lists, and all these 4s are present inside one big list, right? And then let's just print it, and you can see that it is of the type 1 2 3 4 by 1 2 3, right? 4 rows and 3 columns. And how can I check the number of elements that is present? Let's say check the size. Do I check the size? You already know that np array dot size. Okay, so if you have missed to pay attention, so remember your array dot size will give you the size of the array. And again, if you want to check the shape of it, so you can do dot shape. That will give you the shape of the array. Okay, so let me just quickly correct this shape and size. And similarly, if you want to check the ndim dot ndim, which is nothing but the number of dimensions that your array has, that will give you the result as 2, right? That's pretty much about it. So we have seen size, shape, ndim, right? And another most important thing is you often want to check the data type, right? When you deal with pandas or data visualizations, you will understand that you would need to check the data type everywhere, right? And that's about it. It's simple. So all I did is I just created an array from the hard-coded value, and then I checked the size of it. It shows 12 because I have 12 elements here, because it's a 4 by 3 matrix. And then I have checked the shape of it, then dimensions, then data type, and so on, right? And you can take more examples yourself and then play around with it and see how it helps. And yeah, that's about it, and then we move on to the next part of the tutorial. Okay, so I hope so far everything is clear and you are with me, you are following all the steps. Next part, what we are going to understand is the different ways in which we can create numpy arrays. So far I have only shown you how to create an array from hard-coded value, but now we will get into the details of other available APIs, or at least some of the APIs we will explore on creating arrays. So there are some functions that I want to talk about before I begin with the hands-on. So this is what I want to talk about. Very first one is the inbuilt array function, which will obviously convert your list and tuples into numpy array. Other one is once. This is again available numpy.once, and if you want to create an array from once, so let's say you want to create an array 4 by 3 matrix which is filled with ones, you can use this function. Similarly, if you want an array which is filled with 0, you can use zeros function. Then we have something called arange, which is nothing but array range. So range functions you already know. If you use range functions 1.1,5, so it will start from 1 to 4. Similarly, if you want to create an array from a range or range function, you can do that. You can specify a value, start, end, and the range. Then it will create an array. We'll look into this. So next is line space. So if you want to divide two values into equal number of spaces, you can do that again. Right now you may not understand this, but we'll look into all that. And then you can also create an array which is filled with random integers or random floats. We can do that. So let's get into coding, and let's touch this one by one. Okay. So from now I think it'll become a little bit more hands-on, and you need to pay a little more attention on each of these. Okay. So let's say you have this you know okay, so you have this Python list and you want to convert it into NumPy array. So what you can do is, let's say I want a variable as npplayer heights and np.array. Now before I begin, I need to import it, right? So let me just import it first. Okay, so numpy is imported. Now if I press tab, I will get that autocomplete. Okay, so np array, and I just convert this, right? So there is no rocket science, you already know this API. And if you want to print it, you just say this, right? np player heights. And also, you know that, instead of storing it in a variable, I can just do this like np dot array, right? And I just say 111 102, let's say 145 and 156. Okay, and this also would convert it to an array. I just store it somewhere just for the namesake, and so that if I want to refer it later, I can access that easily, right? And then let's say I have a tuple as well. Okay, and I want to create an array of it, so I can also do that. So I can say, let's say currencies array equal to same syntax, np dot array, right? And I'll pass currencies, that'll give me the currencies array, and then you can just print it as currencies arrays. Now if you remember, in the very first tutorial, I had asked you this quiz, how you can create an array from tuple and dictionary, right? So from the tuple, it's pretty straightforward. You have seen it now. You just pass it as a parameter to np.array. And if you want to convert a dictionary into numpy array, then this is a little bit tricky, but not that difficult. So let me just print this, so you can see that this is a dictionary, right? And what I will do is, I'll just create a two-dimensional array. So let's say 2D array. Okay, and I'll create it as np.array, and I'll first create a list from the dictionaries items. Okay, so this is my currency dictionaries dot items. I convert it to a list, and then I convert it back to an array. Fine. Now items, we have to call it as a function. Okay, and we print currencies to the array. Okay, it's just, I wanted it to be 2D, so fine. So you see, I have first column that represents the currencies in string, and other one just the currency symbols, right? That's also in string, but yeah, this is the currency name and then the symbol. And then if you want to print the data type of it, you can see that it says of the type, d type is string u7. You can read about it, what it means. And then I want to also see, let's say, the shape of it, and you can do that. And this is all I have already covered to you. And similarly, if you want to check the, let's say, maybe the dimensions of it, which is very common sometimes to check, you can do that. You can run all the basic functions that I already spoke here, right? Previous part of the tutorial, I already explained this. And then we'll talk about a couple of more things. And so far we visited arrays, right? How to create an array from list, tuples, and dictionaries, right? We also used dictionaries. Now we will visit the function called once, right? So I'll call it as, let's say, array once, and I name it, and the way to create is, of course, you call np.once, and then how many I want 10, let's say, right? And then you can just print it array once, and you see that by default it creates of the type float, right? And that's also good, but let's say I want it in integer type. So what I can do is I can do array ones is equal to np dot ones, of course the same ones, and you wanted 10, so you specify 10, and then you specify extra parameter called d type, right? You want it of the type integer. Okay, so there is also possible to pass 32 and 64, so we'll look into that. And then you again print array ones, then now you see that everything is of the type integer. Okay, it is also possible to pass it like this, like int 64, let's say. Okay, so this is also possible. For now I just keep it as int. Again, if you want to, just for your revision, if you want to check the dimensions, you just do the same array.ndim, and then if you want to again check the size of it, then you again say dot size, and if you similarly want to check the shape of it, you can do that shape. Okay, this is cool. Also want to quickly introduce you about reshape function. I have already talked about it in the previous video, right? In one of the previous video over here, I have already explained you how to convert one-dimensional array to two-dimensional array, right? In this notebook, introduction to array in NumPy, I already explained you that. So for now, let's say you have this array, right? And you want to convert it into, let's say, 2 by 5 matrix. And how we can do that? Once to the array. Again, I'm just giving these names for learning purpose, but in real world you would use something better. It's array ones dot reshape. Okay, remember the function reshape, and we want it of the type 2 by 5, and you can just print it. Now what would happen if I just specify 2 by 6? Because so if you have 10 elements, you can never convert it to 2 by 6, right? NumPy doesn't know how to convert. So 2 by 5 is 10 elements, so it can easily convert. So be a little careful when you are dealing with the size and reshape of it. So make sure you understand its size and then you deal with it. Just for the reference, I'll keep the original working code as well, so that you can easily refer it back. Okay, let's just repeat all that. I want to check the shape of it, right? You can use the shape. Again, if you want to check the size of it, you just do size. And if you want to check the type of it, right, long back we had done that. You can see that it's of the type numpy.nd array. There is one more function which I have not explained you. So if you want to check the item size, okay, once dot item size, it says 8. Okay, so item size means the individual items that are present. Okay, what's the size of those in bytes? Okay, and you remember we used int, and you remember that when we created those, we used of the type int, right? So depending on the system, whether it is 32 or 64, it would pick the number of size. You can explicitly enforce it, like I shown you in 64. Yeah, so at this moment you can see that the item size is 8, right? So individual elements that are stored here are occupying 8 bytes of memory space. Okay, now if you want to convert it back to, let's say, 4 bytes, then what you can say is okay, dot h type, I'll say int 32. Okay, and then I again say once to the array dot item size. So I hope this is clear to you, right? It depends on what data type you are declaring it as. Okay, so we explored how to create an array using once functions. Now we will explore how to create an array from the zeros function. So this array we will call it as zero arrays, and then let's say np dot zeros, and we want it of let's say 20 elements, right? And then let's just print it, and we print it as, let's say, 0 array, and then you can see that it has printed all the elements. But I didn't want it like this. Let's say I want to create something else. Okay, I want the data type to be int, but I want it to be of 4 by 5 matrix, let's say. Okay, and then let's print it. So you can see that it has created of the data type int, and it has created in the shape of 4 by 5 matrix. Okay, so you can check the dimensions and other details which will already covered before. Now next we will create array again using a function called arange, right? So same, you use arange, and you want, let's say you want it to be 0 to 10, then you would press 11. Okay, so you know one more you have to use. np.arange, I want, let's say 1, 10 and 5. So what would happen? It will give me 1 and 6, right? Because I want from 1 to 9 and incremented by 5. And what if I just make this as, let's say 50, then it will give me 1, 6, 11, 16 and so on until 46, right? So arange has given me one dimensional array, and similarly if I want to create one with 2D, I can also do that. I can specify the details here directly. So let's say I want 15, I can specify the shape here, but I also wanted to demonstrate you the reshape function again. So reshape and 5 by 3, let's see. Okay, so you see that I have created a 5 by 3 matrix here. This is all good. Most important functions now that we are going to discuss about is line space, and let me just create one quickly, and then I think you will understand it what it means. Okay, so we'll use np dot line space, and what I'm going to create is, like text says here, create an array of the length 30 between 1 and 500. Okay, so I will create 1, 500 and 30, right? So between 1 to 500 I want to divide it into equal 30 parts, and let's see what happens. I'm sorry, there is a typo here, so it's called line space. So yeah, you can see that, right? From 1 to 500 it has created of 30 elements, right? So how do you know that it is of 30 elements? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 9, 30, right? And let's say you want to convert these into particular array, so that also you can do. You can convert these into an array like this. So if it is 30, you can also convert it to, let's say something like 5 by 6. Okay, the next one that we'll talk about is using the random function. Okay, how we can use random functions to create an array. So NumPy provides something called np.random, then you call the random functions from that random object, and you can see that it just returns random float number to me, which is between 0 to 1, right? So if it is 0 to 1, if I want between 0 to 100, I can just multiply it with 100 and then I'll get it. Now I want to create an array which is filled with these random numbers. So how to do that? I can do np.random function. Okay, and over here I will pass the dimensions. So I want it of the type 5 by 4, let's say. So you can see that I have a matrix of 5 by 4 dimensions. Okay, slightly more tricky one if you want to create. So you want to create a n by n array which is filled with random floats number between 0 to 100, right? So how to do that? You can do it like np.random, and dot random, again you would call that random function here, and you want it m by n. So let's say again 5 by 4, but you want it to be filled with 100. So you can just multiply this with 100, and that will give you, again I might have made some mistakes, so let me just see. Okay, so remember, this is very important, you have to always pass this as a list. Okay, so 5 by 4. And another question is there, like how I can create one which is between 0 to 12 but of the type integer. So again it would be the same thing to do. You would do np dot random, okay, and dot random function, and you would pass the dimension which is of the type m by n. So let's pass again 4 by 5, and you want it to be between 12, and remember you have to pass this inside list, so I did that into 12, right? But this will give me of the type float. If you want to convert this into of the type, let's say integer, you have to type as type, and then let's say I want it of the type int 32, right? And you have it there. So let's say np int 32 array, so which is nothing but random array, and then you can just print this. Okay, so again I will just repeat what we covered in this tutorial. So we just explored different ways in which NumPy arrays can be created. We used array function, ones, zeros, arrange, line space, and random functions. Line space, remember there is no e, and in the random also you remember you have to pass the dimension inside the list. So we used different ways to create arrays using the array functions. Most important is how we can convert a dictionary into array. So you know that you have to first get the items from the dictionary, then create a list out of it, and then only you pass it to the array. There are other properties that we have seen like dtype, shape, ending. And to create an array which is filled with ones, we would use the function ones, and again we checked how to convert that one dimensional into two-dimensional array and so on. We have also seen some exception here. When we do not specify the dimension properly, it throws an error when we try to reshape it. And then again we checked how to create an array which is filled with zeros, and we have also seen how to change the data type. You can either use as type, or you can just pass the data type here while creating that, right? That will just convert it into the shape and the type that you specify. And then you can also create an array which is filled with the value from range function, and you already know what range function is in Python. Then this is interesting, which is nothing but line space. So we have seen how we can create an array which is filled with values between 1 to 500, and that value is divided by 30 equal intervals, right? And we have also seen this np.random function that returns you a random value which is between 0 to 1, random float value. You can create an array which is filled with random float values. Over here we just created the same, and the values are between 0 to 100. We also checked how to convert random array data type into integer instead of float, and this is pretty much about this part of the tutorial. So I hope this is clear to you so far, and you are still with me, and let's move on to the later part of the tutorial. Okay, so in this part of the tutorial what we will explore is look into indexing in NumPy array. So basically we are trying to access different elements from a 2D or one-dimensional array, and then we'll see how to access those elements. Okay, so that's basically what we are going to cover in this. So let's say the very first stage, obviously we would import NumPy, and then I have an array of the type 4x3 matrix, and which is nothing but 12 elements, right, which I just created using the arrange function. And you already seen how to create array using arrange function. So I have 0 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11, right? Now from here I want to access the 0th element, right? So 0 by 0 element. So in your normal matrix syntax it is 1 by 1. So in Python it is 0 by 0. So if I want to access that, 0 by 0 will give me 0th element, right? And how can I access the last element? Obviously just like list, you just do a of -1 and -1. That gives me the last element. So now I want to access a specific row, right? So I want to access the 3 4 5 elements together. Now this is my first one, which is nothing but 0th row and the first row, right? So what I will do is I'll use a of 1, that will give me the row 3 4 5, and I can also do the same using 1, and I say that return me all the columns in this. And similarly I can also do 1 comma colon meaning all the columns. So row comma colon, colon meaning all the column. So that also gives me 3 4 5. So I can have multiple syntax here. And similarly I want to access the last column of this array, and to do that, you know that I want all the row but last column, right? And what I can do is, let's say I will use A, and the last one is obviously right, and I can use -1. Sorry, I just need to put a comma. Okay, so this give me the last column 2 5 8 11. And similarly I can also do, let's say, colon comma 2 2. So this gives me the last column. Now let's say I want to get a view of it. My array is 0 to 11, and I want to get only the specific part of that array, which is nothing but we call it as view. So you understand that you want it from let's say the row is 1 and the column is 1, right? We start like this. So you want, let's say, B, and what you want is from 1 first row to the end, and then you want the column begin from first column to till the end, and then you specify B. This prints you the array. And now let's say you want to reshape this B. So what you can do is B dot reshape, and you want to reshape it to 2 by 3. This is very important. The last part that I will talk about is create an array with specific indices from an array of the type m by n. So this is my original array, but I want to create a sub array which is just from 0, 5 and 11. Now let me explain you the syntax first, and then if you have any question you can refer this blog article. And so if I just want 0 and 5, what I can do is, let's say my array is 3 and I want 0 and 5. So what are the rows syntaxes? I want it from the first row and the second row, right? So what would happen if I just say, let's say 0 1 comma 0 2, okay, and I just print C. So let me just explain this to you. So please pay attention to this. This is very important. 0 is present as 0 comma 0, and 5 is present as 1 comma 2, right? So what are the row syntaxes? Row syntaxes are 0th row and 1th row, right? I want something from 0th row and 1th row. And what are the column syntaxes? I want something from the 0th column as well as from the second column. So this is what I've done. So this is basically you are specifying the row comma row, and then inside you are specifying the column comma column. Okay, so you specify the of the first element, second element, third element, first element, second element and third element. Okay, now we have just got 0 and 5. So if I want 0 5 11, what I have to do again? So I can say C equal to from A slice 0 1, okay, 0th row, first row and the last row. So last, either you can use -1 or 3, right? And then I want from the first column and last column, right? So I want it from first column, last column, and from where the third one comes? Again comes from the last column, and I just print C. So this one is very interesting, so I expect you to understand this very clearly. So let's revisit what all we did. So we tried to access elements in different ways. The first one, accessing the first element of a 2D array, is very simple. You can just use A00, and then accessing the last one is also simple. You can use A -1, or if you know the exact dimension, you can also specify the dimension, command dimension. And if you want to access a specific row, you can specify that row number, or you can also specify row number comma colon, so that all the columns come. And if you want to access a specific column, you have to specify colon in the field of row comma the column number, right? In this case we want to access the last column, so we specify the -1, and or you can specify 2 as well. Another interesting part that we touched is how to get a sub array from an array. So if you want to access a sub array, you have to follow the syntax like this. We want it from the first row first column to last row last column, right? So this is how the portion we want, and this is the syntax to get that. Last important thing that we explored is how to create sub array which is having only the specific elements from the parent array. And to do that, you first specify the list of row and then the list of columns. So we want 0, 5, 11, so we specified 0th row, then first row and third row. So 0, 1, 3, and then 0, 2 and 2, right? That gives me 0, 5, 11. So this is pretty much about indexing in NumPy. Okay, so I hope you are still with me and you are enjoying this tutorial. Click on the like button and please subscribe to my channel. I promise to bring more and more useful content in the coming days. Okay, so welcome back again, and in this part of the tutorial I'll talk about broadcasting in NumPy. It's a very common concept in most of the data processing libraries, and this is also very common in libraries or programming languages like R and Python. So let's understand what is broadcasting in NumPy. Assume you want to perform arithmetic operations between two matrices. One is 3 by 3, other one is 1 by 1. So you see there is a dimension difference between these two matrices, right? So what NumPy would do is it will repeat the smaller array to match its dimensions with the bigger array. Okay, so 1 by 1 will be repeated 3 times so that it becomes 3 by 3 matrix. Now if NumPy feels like it cannot repeat the dimensions to match the larger array, then it will throw an exception. So basically the smaller array should be in a specific size so that it can be repeated to match the larger array's dimension. Okay, so this is exactly what I have just noted here. You can just refer that. Reset this back, restart and clear all, so that I run these one by one and show you the output. So obviously the very first thing that you would do is you would import the NumPy library, and I have one array 3 by 3 and it is of the type integer 32. Okay, and you just see that, right? And it is created using arrayn, so that's why it has the value from 0 to 8. And now let's say I have another array which is array 2 and it has just one element which is array 1, right? And now I want to add this 3 by 3 matrix with just one element, and the way I can do that is you just have to do array 1 plus array 2. Okay, now what happens is that this array 1 is broadcasted into a 3 by 3 matrix which is just filled with ones, and then they are added. It is almost like creating an array which is filled with just ones. And similarly, if you want to just multiply these two, you just have to type array 1 into array 2 and then you just multiply them. You already know that you can also reshape things, right? And so I have array 1 here, and I have, let's say, another array which is array 3, okay, which is having just 3 elements 1, 2, 3, and you can see that this is having 3 rows but 1 column, right? And now if I want to multiply, you know that this array has to be broadcasted as 1, 2, 3, then 1, 2, 3, and then again 1, 2, 3, right? So in this way, like 1, 2, 3, then from top to down again another column as 1, 2, 3, and then the third column also as 1, 2, 3, and then it will get multiplied. So first would be 1 and 0, it will be 0, then 1 and 1 would be 1, and then 1 and 2 would be 2. Then second, everything will have 2, right? So it will become 6, 8, 10. And in the third row, everything would be 3 here. So 18, 21 and 24. That would be the result. Now let's say you have one array which is of type obviously 3 by 3 and another array which is having 3 rows but 1 column, right? 3 by 1. So if you want to perform multiplication between those, so what you can do is you just do array 1 into array 3, right? But how it happens is that 1 2 3, again the next column would be 1 2 3, again the third column would be 1 2 3. So that's how it would be getting matched with this 3 by 3 matrix. So you'll have 1 in the first row, 2's will be in the second row, and 3's will be in the third row. 1 multiplies by all of these, again 2 2 2 would be 6 8 10, 3 3 3 would make it as 18 21 and 24. Next example that we will see is again array 1 is 3 by 3, but in this time we'll have 1 row but 3 columns. Okay, the rows would be getting broadcasted, so 1 2 3, again next row would be 1 2 3, again the third row would be 1 2 3, right? So when you want to multiply 1 into 0, then 2 into 1, and then 3 into 2, then 1 2 3, and then again 1 2 3, right? That's how it becomes 0 to 6, 3 8 15, and 6 14 24. And similarly you can add them and you can also subtract them. And then there are two more things that we will talk. So if you want to change the data type and then convert it into another shape, so let's do that. So if you have, let's say, m by 1 and 1 by m, this is of the type 4 by 1, right? So there are 4 rows but 1 column, and then there will be 4 columns but 1 row, and then you want to multiply them. That is also possible, because your 1 column would be broadcasted into 4 columns, and then first row would be over here 1 2 3 4, second row would be 1 2 3 4, third row would be 1 2 3 4, and fourth one also would be 1 2 3 4, and then that's how you get to multiply both of those. Let's just take another example. If you have one m into n, another one is l into m array, and you try to do certain manipulations on top of those. So let's see if this is also possible or not. So we have np into a range 10 and of the type int, and we just reshape it to 5 by 2, and other one we have is 2 by 5, right? And then we try to multiply. Okay, so because 5 by 2 cannot be converted to a 5 by 5, and 2 by 5 also cannot be converted into a 5 by 5, that's why you get this exception, right? Because they are not compatible with each other. So this is pretty much about broadcasting. Okay, and I hope this is clear to you, how NumPy takes care of the multiplications or additions. And in the later part of this tutorial, again we will cover some more mathematical operations that are possible in NumPy. We have not yet touched those, so we will also talk about it. So I hope the concepts explained so far are very clear to you. So just to recap, I took you through a high level on introduction on NumPy, and then I also explained you a little bit about what NumPy arrays are, and then we also looked into the different attributes of NumPy array like shape, size, dtype, ending, and then we also looked into several ways in which NumPy arrays can be created. Different methods are available: array, ones, zeros, arange, line space, random dot, random functions. And after that I took you through broadcasting as well, and I explained you how small array is repeated to fit in the size of the larger array, and then the mathematical operations are carried out. But if the repetition cannot be fulfilled to match the larger array's shape and size, then there is a problem, and your operation will not succeed. And after that, the next important concept that I want to cover is vectorization in NumPy. Now this is a very important concept. A lot of programmers, they don't pay attention to this, but from a concept perspective this is quite important. I have also given you 2 links here, so I have shared these links with you so that you can go through and understand vectorization a little bit more in details. So basically what it means is, instead of using Python's inbuilt functions, wherever possible you should use NumPy's inbuilt functions on the NumPy array, of course. And the reason is being NumPy is very optimized from a performance and memory perspective, and as you already know that its APIs are written in C. With the help of certain optimization, it gives you the best of performance as compared to Python's inbuilt functions. Just to compare this and just to validate this, so I have taken a very simple example. So let's say, first you import the NumPy library as np, and there is something called timeit, which will run a particular function for a several number of loops, something like 1000 or 1 lakh, depending on the parameters that you set. And then it will give you an output of how much time it took to complete that operation, so you'll get an idea about it. So let's say I run this particular guy, and what it is doing is I'm just trying to find the sum of the array which is from 0 to 1 lakh, right? And it gives you an output that it took approximately 82.7 microsecond to complete the 10,000 loops each. And I have written another function which basically does the same thing, but what it does is it iterates over the NumPy array and then it tries to calculate the sum of it. So you can see that this one took around 82.7 microsecond, but the second one took 20.6 nanosecond to complete. So this is clearly because over here we use the NumPy's inbuilt np.sum method. However, here we try to loop through the array ourselves and then try to calculate the sum. So according to the concept of vectorization and what NumPy recommends is that you stick to the inbuilt NumPy functions to perform any mathematical operation, and unless something is not available, then you try to write your own functions. So I hope this concept is clear to you so far. So if you have any question on this, please comment it down. So the next important concept that I will talk about is the different mathematical operations that you can perform on NumPy array. Now I know we have covered several things, but we have not touched on this particular topic much. So in this part of the tutorial, I will take you through the different mathematical operations that are possible to do in NumPy. This is again a very high level discussions that we will do because it's not feasible to go much in details on each of those functions. So the very first thing that I will do is, obviously, to do anything in NumPy, we will first import NumPy library, and I will create an array, and this is basically my 0 to 8, right, which is basically 9 elements. And what I will do is, I want to do a lot of mathematical operations on this array, so I'm just going to reshape this, okay, to a 3 by 3 matrix. Okay, so now you see that it has been converted back to a 2D array. I want to now introduce you to two important functions in NumPy. One is called hstack, which is nothing but horizontal stacking, and the other one is called vstack, which is nothing but vertical stacking. Horizontal stacking meaning you take array 1 and array 2 and you stack them horizontally. You understand this, right? So to stack something horizontally, the number of rows should be same. Similarly, if we want to stack two arrays vertically, the number of columns should be same. I never talked much about making use of the help function, but let's say you want to understand what hstack does for me, you can just do this. Okay, you can just do this. So it will give you the details about hstack and how you can use. So you can see that if there is one array which is of 3 elements, 1 to 3, other one is 2 3 4, and what are the number of rows present here? Just 1. And what about the columns? There are 3 columns. Okay, now when we do hstack, the rows should be same. That's the policy. Now we will also try to do exact same thing. So what we are going to do is, we have, let's say, two array A and B, and you can guess that this would be 9 elements, so 0 to 8, then 0 to 8. So it is 3 by 3, 3 rows and 3 columns, and then we're just going to do hstack. Okay, and what I will do is C equal to np dot hstack, and I'm just going to pass them inside another pair of bracket. Okay, remember that, that's important. And then I just print. Now you can see that they are horizontally stacked, so 0 1 2 again repeated 0 1 2, right? Similarly, if you want to understand what is vstack is all about, you can again do the same, np dot vstack, and you'll get all the detailed information about vstack and how to use it. So you can see that there were two arrays, 1 2 3, another one is 2 3 4. The number of columns are same, 3, and when you did vstack, it has become 1 2 3, and then the second row is 2 3 4, right? It's simple and straightforward. So similarly we would do, let's say, d. Okay, d equal to np dot vstack, again inside the pair of curly braces, a comma b, and then d. Okay, so you can see that they are repeated 0 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8, and then e2 is here, right? So a and b, so a is this and the rest is b. So this is simple. And there is also something called just stack. I would give that as a homework to you, so you are going to figure that out and how it works. Okay, just stack function, so np dot stack. Okay, so that's pretty much about vstack and hstack. I hope that part is clear. Now we'll get into certain mathematical operations and we'll see how you can deal with matrix multiplications or additions and things like that. Let's say I have one array called A1. So you can see it's a 4 by 3 matrix, and then another one is A2. It is again 4 by 3 matrix. And if you want to do the addition of two matrices, you can just do A1 plus A2, right? That will give you the output. And if you want to do the numpy way, you can just do np dot add a1 comma a2. Okay, both are same. It's operator overloading in Python. Now if you want to do matrix multiplications, again you can just do multiply a multiply by b, and you'll get the answer to that, element wise multiplications. And if you want to use the numpy function, you can just do np dot multiply a1 comma a2. That gives you the answer. Similarly, if you want to calculate power, so you can also do that. This is square, right? Every element is multiplied by itself. And if you want to use numpy method, that also you can do. np dot power is available, and you can just say a1 and 2. Okay, if you want to calculate cube, you can also do that. So that will calculate the cube of every element. Another important thing is to sometimes find the absolute value of a particular array, and there are different ways in which you can do that. You can either use the absolute method of Python, and that will work. This is from the Python. And if you want to use numpy inbuilt method, then you should use numpy absolute method, and you pass in the x array, and then that gives you the absolute value, right? All negatives are gone. It is also possible to perform a lot of trigonometric operation in numpy. So let's say if you want to know the pi value, you can just do np.pi. Similarly, if you want to calculate the, let's say, sine theta of 90 degree, okay, by default it takes everything in radian, so you have to convert it to degree. So np.degree, and I will pass, let's say, 90 degree. So it gives me that sine 90 degree is nothing but 1. And similarly, if I want to do, let's say, cos 90 degree, and I will invoke in np dot degree to radian, and then I'll pass 90. So cos 90 is 6 point something. Now let's say I want to calculate the cos 60 value, so this should be 0.5. okay, let's say I have another array which is of different angles in degree. So let's say I have 0, 30, then 45, 60, then I have 90, then I have 180. Okay, and I want to calculate the tan theta of all this. So I will obviously do np dot degree to radian, and then I pass the angles there, and you get the tan theta value. So it is also possible to find exponential values in NumPy. Now to do that, let's say I again take another array. Okay, and this one is just 1 2 3 4 5, and then I want to calculate the exponential values of X array, and you get the result. Now I explained you about help function before. Now there is also something called np.info, so it is similar to that, and it will give you details about any NumPy function that you want to check. So in this case I want to check about the np.log. So log functions I want to check and how to use that. So you can see all the details are given about it, so I let you to read this, and you can also try this out. Now you can see that this particular section is expanded. If you just click here, it will be collapsed. Now just to give you a few examples, log value of, let's say, X array. Now you can see the result, right? And if I want to do log of base 2 and X array, you also get the result. Similarly for, let's say, log base 10, and I want to calculate again that for the same array, you get the result here. So that's pretty much about trigonometry, absolute values, power, multiplications, additions, and v-stack and h-stack. The next important things that I will discuss is something called aggregate functions in NumPy. Let's say you have an array, let's call it as A5 or A6, something like that, and it's nothing but one that you created from a range 0 to 10, so which will have 0 to 9 values. Okay, now let's say you want to calculate the sum of all the elements that is present in A6. So what you can do is you can call np.add.reduce, and you pass the array. Okay, fine. So that gives you the result. So you understand, right, how you can use add.reduce function. So similarly, if you want to multiply all the elements, you can also do something like that. So let's say we insert another block below, so just B, and I say np dot multiply dot reduce, and reduce what? A6. Okay, so you see that the result is 0 because you have one element which is 0. First element is 0, so everything gets multiplied by it and becomes 0. So I hope you are liking this tutorial, and if everything is clear to you and you are enjoying this content, so please give me a thumbs up. You also know, right, you could do the same thing using sum of A6, let's say. That also gives you, the sum of everything. But reduce has certain advantages, and I will show you what are these. So let's say I have another array, okay, and I create it as again a range. Okay, and let's say I start from 1 to 10, and then I say data type equal to np.int32. Earlier I have seen you how you can pass that string value. Now I'm saying how you can get that object value from np.int32, and then you're going to just reshape this to a 3x3 matrix. Okay, and then printing this out. Think I did a mistake here in the syntax. Okay, fine. Yep. And this is all right. Now let's say I want to do reduce on this 3x3 matrix. Okay, so let's do that. np.add.reduce, okay, on this 3x3 matrix. Now let's see what happens. So what you see is there is array of 12, 15 and 18, right? So what happens is it gets added column wise. So first column value is 12, second is 15, and the third one is 18. I hope this is clear to you. There is something called axis concept. We'll talk about it as we move on. We want to do the sum of all the elements. Okay, I just don't want to reduce it, but I want to add them all. And how we can do this? I have this AA, right? So I can just do np dot sum and I just pass AA. Okay, see, it gives me sum of everything irrespective of its shape. So next I want to talk about is reduce and multiply function. So np dot multiply dot reduce, if I do and I say AA, let's see what it gives me. Okay, it gives me 28, 80 and 162. Why? Because by default it would do on the column wise. So 1 into 4 is 4, into 7 is 28. Similarly 10, 2 into 5 is 10, and then 10 into 8 is 80 and 162. But I want it to happen row wise, not column wise. So what I should do is I do axis, okay, equal to 1, and 1 means row wise and 0 means column wise. Okay, now let's change this to 0. Okay, so 0 means column wise, 1 means row wise. So I hope so far all good with you. Now I want to also show you something called accumulate. Okay, accumulate, it's almost like Fibonacci series, how you add the previous number values to the next. Okay, in this I want to pass on the same array, something like that. So let's say 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. Okay, and let's run it. What you see is first element remains constant, then 1 plus 2 becomes 3, then 3 plus 3 becomes 6, and 6 plus 4 becomes 10, 10 plus 5 becomes 15, plus 6 becomes 21, plus 7 becomes 28. So you understand, it becomes like a series. And you also have similar functions on 2D array, right? You can also pass the 2D array here. We pass, let's say, AA, and then you get the same thing, right? So you remember the series here. 1 remains as it is, 1 plus 4 becomes 5, 1 plus 4 becomes 5, plus 7 becomes 12, right? And similarly 2 plus 5 becomes 7 here, and 7 plus 8 becomes 15, and so on. This is also possible for multiplications as well. So if I just show you, let's say np dot multiply dot accumulate EA, so you can see the output here. And the next concept I want to talk about is linear algebra. I'm not going to discuss everything in details, but just touching on few possibilities. So metric multiplications, again you have done this before. Let's say I have two metrics m1 and m2 as shown above, and I want to do matrix multiplications. Okay, you do mat multiplication. Okay, you don't just call multiplications, that will happen on the elements basis, right? So, and this will do m1 comma, let's say m2, right? This is your matrix multiplications result. It is also possible to do dot product, and you can Google out if you have forgotten the concepts, and in this case it's the same. You can also find the determinant of an array, and to do that you just call linear algebra. Okay, linear algebra, np dot linear algebra, lin and alg for algebra, dot, you want to find the determinant of the matrix m1, and that gives you the result. Okay, and similarly if you want to find the determinant of, let's say, another one, that is m2, you can also do that. Okay, then if you want to find the rank of a matrix, do linear algebra dot matrix rank. Okay, and I want to find the rank of m1, so it is 2. And similarly if you want to calculate the inverse of a matrix, the syntax is almost same. You do np dot linear algebra and dot inverse, so it is inv. You can press the tab to get the details, and then m1. Okay, this gives you the answer. So this is pretty much about the different linear algebraic operations that are supported in Pi. Again, I have not covered everything. It's not possible in this video to cover everything. So I just shown you the use of reshape. Then we talked about vstack and hstack, I've shown you how to use the np.add, np.multiply, and np.power, np.abs. It's np.absolute, actually, absolute. I've also shown you various trigonometric operations, right? Sine, cos, tan, and I've also shown you the reduce and accumulate functions in aggregate functions, right? Reduce and aggregate. So this is very useful sometimes to do certain calculations. And then we have also seen the basic algebraic operations on matrix that are possible, matrix multiplications, dot products, finding the determinant, rank of a matrix, inverse of a matrix, and so on. So I hope so far things are clear to you, and let's move on quickly to the next topic. Now, one common question that always arrives is why we want to deal with NumPy array. Almost we could use the list to perform all this, right? And the obvious reason is the performance. And I have taken a very simple example. So I have, let's say, two lists here, L1 and L2. And what I'm doing is I'm just going to multiply each and every elements of L1 with L2. So it's basically index based multiplications, right? And let's do this and let's understand how much time it takes to perform. And the next one, what I will do is I will again create two NumPy array instead of lists, and then I will try to find the differences between them. And you can clearly see that the same operation NumPy does it in much lesser time than the Python. So it gives you a timestamp and then you subtract, and then you find the result in I think milliseconds. So you can see this clearly that NumPy performs much faster. And so that's it about this tutorial, and I'm going to commit all these files to my GitHub repository. Thank you for watching this tutorial. I highly recommend you to practice all the examples, and I will also share these notebooks in the description below.
Thank you for watching this tutorial. I will see you in the next video. You can put your questions in the comments below.